Welcome to another episode of Sips and Screams, where twin sister horror movie fanatics sip themed cocktails and discuss our favorites in the genre. Today we are going back to 2011 to discuss The Innkeepers, written and directed by horror director, soon-to-be legend, Ty West. Yeah. This one is eerie. It has suspense, it has creepy hotel staff, it has creepy hotel guests, and of course it has ghosts, all just haunting the Yankee Pedlar Inn. More on that later. Starring Sarah Paxton, Pat Healy, and fresh off of Top Gun 30 years later, Kelly McGillis. Also, I don't know, a pointless cameo by Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham before Girls. Let's just say that.
Yeah, pre-Girls. I'm Ashley, and of course, joining me as always is my twin sister, Allie. Allie, what's up? How you doing?
As always, Ash, I'm doing great. I know you're just waiting for one of these days when I answer with something other than great. I'm like, I'm okay.
You're like, I had an okay week. It was all right.
Yeah, it's been okay. It's been a nice, it's been a nice week. So I'm ready. Innkeepers, this is a good one.
And as always, you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, even TikTok. Our handle is at Sips and Screams Pod. You can also email us, sipsandscreams.podcast@gmail.com. Also, we're everywhere where you get your podcasts, so please reach out. We would love to hear from you. Okay, it's time. You know what time it is, Al. What time is it?
It's killer cocktail time.
That's right. And this one was easy.
Yeah. We had a couple of choices in this one, Ash. A couple of choices. We went one way.
We did. The two choices were beer, right? Because they get drunk that one night.
That's right.
And, we had to go the minibar route. route. So
we did.
Kelly McGillis,
We've got
she just sucking back that vodka, in her hotel
just
room. Straight out the bottle.
Yeah, I don't think I can do this like room temperature straight out of the bottle. No, I don't think so. Okay. I think we're going to elevate it a little bit. But we did get for our listeners, Ash and I both have little vodka nips. I have Stolichnaya. I butchered that pronunciation.
Stoli?
No, it's not. It's Stoli, but it has that additional stuff on it.
Oh, yeah. I just call it Stoli. You can just say Stoli. Well, I think that's the cooler way to say it. Okay. I have Tito's handmade vodka. I like this because this is what you get like on the plane when you fly American, right? So it reminds me of that.
It does.
All right. So are you ready? We're going to mix these?
Yeah, I'm quite excited. Yeah, we're going to mix these live. So I have a cup of ice.
Dear God.
I haven't even tried it. And I'm very bad at this. Okay.
I should have pre-opened. I swear. Wait, do you have
yours struggling?
Open? I'm really struggling.
Okay, I do now. There we go. Okay. Did you get it, Ash? She still doesn't have it open. I'm pouring some of this in a glass. Since I have a short glass, I'm not going to put the whole thing in.
I got it.
Okay, so we're going to do, so what are you doing? I'm going to do a little bit of that vodka. I'm going to put some Topo Chico in it.
Mm-hmm. Topo. How much is it? Is it 2 shots? What is this?
I don't know. Maybe a shot and a half. Yeah, I don't put the whole thing in. I think those are, you are. Okay. Well,
we'll see.
I went the other way.
I have some bubbly. I have some sparkling water, grapefruit. And I'm just going to make, basically a vodka soda.
Yeah, I'm making a vodka soda with orange juice, AKA an orange crush. And that is very much a Maryland drink. Those of our listeners from Maryland or from Baltimore, you get these everywhere and they are so refreshing and delicious. So I'm going to top mine off with like a little bit of orange juice, but I don't want to spill it. Oh, this is going to be
I like them because they usually do like fresh squeezed orange juice and the crushed ice. Do you have the crushed ice?
I could have done that, Ash, because I actually have, but I didn't. I just did ice cubes. I just wanted to stay. Well, I want to stay cold during the entire podcast,
Okay, so unlike Kelly McGillis, we did put ice in it. So cheers. Are you ready?
I am, but I didn't mix it. So let's see how this goes.
Okay, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, Ash.
Killer cocktail number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Really good.
I only did half of one of those. It's still quite strong.
Okay. Mine's good, but I have like the tall glass, so mine's delicious.
Yeah. Well, and what are we wearing today, Ash? Let's for those of you watching this, you can see that we are in maroon polos. Basically, we could just walk into the Yankee Pedlar Inn our first day and be mistaken for hotel staff. We are wearing the uniform. Yeah, and those were that's actually what the hotel staff wore.
Oh, was it?
So this is very,
Ooh.
so this is very, very true to the real workers at Yankee Pedlar Inn as well.
They should sell them. I mean, I could get it. We could just go get it like embroidered. Yankee
Yeah, we
Pedlar
could
Inn.
just get some Yankee Pedlar in there. Yeah.
We could. Okay, it's time for Sips and Synopsis. As always, Allie, take it away. Tell us about the plot of The Innkeepers.
Yes, and right before I do that, I'm going to take a little sip of this delicious drink. Cheers, Ash.
So good.
So we're going back to 2011 for this one.
Yeah.
So The Innkeepers. And I have to say, I'm not sure how many people have seen this movie, right? I think, when we asked the question on social media, we didn't get a lot of questions. So if you haven't, listen to this podcast, check out this movie. I think it's an underrated little gem of a movie.
It is. And it's on Amazon Prime.
Yes,
I think you can just watch it.
It's streaming. Exactly. It's streaming right now.
90 minutes. It's a good watch.
Yeah. And before I get into it, it is a slow burn of a movie.
It is. I had that written down. I'm like, it is a slow burn. Like, great minds think alike. It is slow burning. Absolutely.
And Ty West said that too. So I think that is certainly on purpose. But this movie filmed on location in Connecticut at the Yankee Pedlar Inn, which has kind of a rich history of being haunted and kind of creepy things happening there. Yep. So, I love that when movies are filmed on location like this. So even before we see the actors at Yankee Pedlar Inn, they really set the tone, the creepy tone, right? Those opening scenes, and they show all of these old timey pictures as they're introducing the cast. And so I just love that because immediately, I think, watching it immediately, I was like, oh, I'm going to like this. It's really setting it.
And those were the real photos because originally it was like the Conley Inn, right? Allison Frank Conley.
Yes.
And it slowly goes. I love how they went from like black and white to present day, and then it got into color. That was so cool. Yeah.
I wrote that down too.
Yeah, and you saw like the different names of the inn over it opened in the late 1800s. Over a century. Very, very cool, very effective. Like you said, setting the tone.
Yeah, it was great. And so we finally get to our colored scene, and we go in, and we're introduced to our protagonists, maybe two protagonists there. We have our
that's up for debate.
Yeah, I think that is up for debate. But we're introduced to Claire and Luke. And so they are the two employees who are at the Yankee Pedlar Inn for this weekend. And it's the last weekend that this inn is going to be open. There are not many people staying there.
The long weekend.
Yeah, the long weekend, exactly.
Calling it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's another thing that Ty West does in this movie. So each section is a chapter. And so it starts out chapter 1, the long weekend.
Mm-hmm. It's very like Wes Anderson. By the way.
Yes. It is. It is very Wes Anderson. But I love it because it sets, you know that there's going to be 3 chapters and kind of it sets the pace of the movie.
It does.
So Claire and Luke, so they are the 2 workers. At this point, there is only one other woman staying there. This woman and her baby.
Baby. So he's like 8.
Well, that's okay. Fine. He's not a baby. He's a little child. But he's there with his mother. We never learned the mother's name, but in any case, at the beginning, they're the only ones staying there. So Claire and Luke are going to stay at the Yankee Pedlar Inn this weekend because they are committed to getting some evidence of the ghosts that are thought to haunt this inn. Yeah. And so their goal is Luke's going to work the 7 to 7 day shift, and Claire's going to work the 7 to 7 night shift. So she's going to be the
coffee to keep her up.
Yeah, exactly. Go get some coffee. I know that. So when you watch this movie, at the beginning, you're going to see Lena Dunham in there for about 2-3 minutes. It's an odd scene. She's playing a really kind of odd character. But again, I think that's to set the tone, right? It sets kind of this like weird, creepy tone because she's very like monotone in it. But she's, I think Lincoln, you'll miss it, but Lena Dunham's in there.
She is. I also think it shows like Claire, like people kind of trauma dump on her. Right? Like she has this like connection with people. I mean, I've definitely experienced that in like cabs and stuff. Well, she has a connection with certain people.
True. But to be fair, I find her kind of at the beginning a little insufferable, kind of annoying.
She's always slumping. She's always slumping on surfaces, just like falls on the couch or the bed. Like her life is just.
She's like a college dropout. She doesn't really know what she's doing with her life, right? We also learned that she, they use this prop very effectively throughout the movie, and it plays a big role at the end. But she has asthma as well. So she has her little asthma inhaler. So you see her, taking puffs of that throughout the movie as well.
like all the time. Do you know that they painted the color?
Yeah, I did.
Ty
They
West.
painted it beige and brown, right? Yeah.
He didn't like the blue. He didn't like the regular blue puffer. Wanted it to
I
be
know why though.
beige.
Yeah, but I think because then it kind of just fades into the background. So
Yeah.
she's doing it right, but it's not some like main thing that you're seeing,
Right.
which I think is important. So yeah, Claire's trying to get her coffee. She goes back, but so Luke.
She also had a hard time ordering the coffee. It's like, is this your first time in a coffee shop?
No, but
like,
she knew
just like,
she knew Lena Dunham's character.
Like chai, latte. Like she had no idea what to order. Like you don't know your coffee order, and you work here, and you come here every day.
Yeah, Claire seems very confused most of the time. But, you know, her back and forth with Luke is great. The whole movie, for the most part, it's very character driven, right? Mm-hmm. Very character driven with Claire and Luke. And they have a lot of funny banter. You know, she takes his
a lot of creepy banter
when he goes to bed the one night. Yeah.
Luke is Luke is a creep.
Yeah, from his end. Luke's creepy. He's clearly in love with Claire.
Yeah.
He does some questionable things, I think, at the end of the movie.
Definitely.
But we learned, so we're getting into the first day. We do get another guest, this Lee character who's a washed up actress. And so she's in town we learn later, for a psychic convention. So she's no longer an actress. She's actually a medium. And so she's in town for this psychic convention.
She's into crystals.
Yeah, she's really into crystals. But, you know, she just happened to check in at a pretty pivotal time for the Yankee Pedlar Inn.
So they're in Connecticut, right? Like it was supposed to take place in Connecticut. Like nothing else is open. They're like, I have to stay at this inn. The top floor is like gutted. Like I have to stay at this Yankee Pedlar Inn one last night.
But I don't think she's even stayed there before, right? But yeah, so good point about the 3 floors. So there's 3 floors of this inn, and floor 1 and 2 still have furniture and everything in them. Floor 3 does not. So those rooms have been stripped apart from the beds. That plays some importance when our final guest checks in. Yeah. But so at this point, you know, it's Claire and Luke. Lee has just checked in. Claire's really excited about that because she recognized her. So when she goes to take those towels up to her, she's all excited in that scene. So she called down to ask for towels, and Claire brings them up to her. And Lee's just like in the shower and asks Claire to hand her a towel. I don't know if you noticed, that was so awkward.
Super
weird.
She
just goes in and like hands her a towel.
Her hand just comes out to grab the towel. Like, how trusting are you? Mm-hmm. Maybe she already had a couple of those minibar bottles, which was very well stocked, by the way. Like
very well stocked.
There were a lot of little mini vodka bottles.
Maybe like 20 there, exactly. Maybe she brought some from home. I don't know. But yeah, so you know, I think Claire's a little disappointed because Lee's kind of standoffish with her at that point. So she goes back down to Luke and is kind of a little sad.
Yeah, but like all she did was ask her what she wants to do with her life, and Claire's like, "Well, I work at the hotel." She's like, yeah, but what do you want to do with your life? Like, what are your interests? And she was just stumped, couldn't think of anything, and was very offended. I don't know if that was necessarily offensive, right? Like, you're just asking, like, what are your interests?
Sets off. Yeah, I don't think she doesn't have any. We know she's a college dropout, but I think that is an important scene because it's sort of, she now wants purpose there, right? And so now she's really into this, like trying to get these EVP recordings. Yeah, right away. She's like, okay, I'm in. I'm going to help Luke. We're going to get actual evidence of the ghosts that haunt this inn. So it's coming up on her night shift, the 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. So Luke is going to, Luke's off to bed. Claire wants to keep his computer. And he begrudgingly allows
He's a little
her
apprehensive.
Yeah, for good reason, I suppose, on Luke's end. You know, as she's searching his website, she finds there's a lot of different porn sites that he's into.
Some of that would not fly today. Like, no, I don't want to go into it, but some of it's like, it's like illegal. Anyway, yeah, Luke's a creep. I can't say that enough. He's a creepy dude.
He is. Yeah. Again, with the kind of the male characters, not really doing much in these movies.
No, they're the worst.
And she's down there by herself now. So, you know, we've got like 2 people staying in the hotel other than Luke. It gets to the night scene. So again, this movie, kind of like when we did Paranormal Activity, right? A lot of all the scary stuff's happening at night. Yeah. And so, she goes and she gets out the EVP recorder. And what does EVP stand for, Ash?
Electronic voice recording. Or phenomenon recording.
I think so.
Oh, it's P. Yeah, so phenomenon. I mean, it's just a really sensitive microphone.
Yeah, and it's supposed to pick up different frequencies and things.
Yeah. There's not, you know, it's not that complicated, but I kind of want one. After watching this movie, I'm like, I don't want to like just go around some like old hotel, or, you know, we have a few of the haunted hotels in Tampa. I kind of want to do that. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll do that. Everyone look at me like I'm crazy.
Well, and Sarah Paxton even said, right, when she's filming that, like she was like pretty creeped out and scared while filming those scenes. So it goes to the night. So it's just Claire. And so she has her headphones on. She has the EVP mic thing. And so she goes to the different rooms and it sets it up. It's like in the ballroom, like recording for EVP at the Yankee Pedlar Inn. And so she's in the ballroom and she hears something, some faint music.
Yes.
Right. In that scene, that's so great. And there's this really great scene because you hear it and you hear it kind of too, but it's really faint. And then she takes her headphones off and she's not hearing it in the room. So it's specifically coming through the EVP recordings.
Yeah.
So that she follows it. Yeah. It's so great. And so it's nighttime. It's just her, again, really slow pacing. She follows it out to the lobby and it's the piano is like playing on its own and there's no one there. Yeah, it's so creepy. And so she goes over to it.
So creepy.
And it's, again, kind of the slow buildup. And you just see two of the keys get pushed down. Again, no one does it. Yeah, the really low ones. And she freaks out at that point. Yeah.
I love that.
So she goes up running. It's so good. So she runs up to get Luke and wakes him up, in his slumber. And he's, again, not very much help. She's freaking out at that point.
He's in his tidy whities.
Yeah. Oh, is he also in tidy whities?
Yes. There? He's like, come on in.
Those tidy whities.
And I have to say at that point, he invites her in. She's like, all right, like I got to get up. I'm going to be down there in a couple of hours. She's like, well, I'm scared. He's like, all right, come on in. And then he turns around. He's in his tidy whities. And at that moment, she chose the bear. She did. She would rather be down there with the ghost of Madeline O'Malley than in that hotel room.
Alone with Luke in his bedroom.
Luke in his tidy whities. Like, she's like, I'm good. I'll take my chances with the ghost. She chose the bear. Good on you, Claire, because would have done the same thing.
Okay, so that's that first night scene, right? And then now we go to chapter 2. And chapter 2 is called Madeline O'Malley. So this is where we learn about the actual ghost that's haunting Yankee Pedlar Inn. And so she is a woman in the 1800s who hung herself there after her fiance failed to show up to their wedding. So she hung herself.
Was the wedding at the inn?
I don't know if we know where it was at, but they were at least staying there. They were staying at the inn. And so she hung herself to show up. Yeah. Just ended her life. And so I guess the workers of the hotel, because they didn't want to, she had hung herself and they didn't want like coroners to come in for like the townspeople to know this was happening. So they took her body and they hid it in the basement.
Dear God.
Yeah, that basement. Oh, basements in general in horror movies, like so creepy, right? So now Claire tells the story to the little boy that's staying there that now, like, rumor has it that there's sightings of Madeline O'Malley as she goes throughout the hotel looking for her lost lover, her former fiance. And so people have reported sightings of her and weird things.
Her telling this to the 8-year-old boy with like, she had the flashlight like shining up like a ghost story. Like this girl she's really bad at reading like social cues. I think she's really bad at it.
Yeah. Again, kind of insufferable. She is.
Yeah. She's like likable, but also you're like, what are you doing? The mom comes out.
She's not likable, but
it's not true.
Listeners, let us know. Did you like Claire in this movie? I found her quite annoying.
Yeah, she was annoying. She had a lot going on. She was a little bit of a lost soul as well.
Yeah.
Listeners, let us know. Do we like Claire? I don't know. Jury's kind of out on that, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. And
that little boy is traumatized for life.
Oh, he is. And the mom is like, what are you doing? They did. So mom and little boy check out after Claire traumatized him with the story of Madeline O'Malley. But I think one thing we learn at this point too is that, Luke claims that he's seen her before, right? He never caught it on camera, but that he's seen her before and it was unsettling. Madeline O'Malley, exactly. So Claire was asking kind of what it was like. And he was saying that it's almost like it didn't happen, right? That it happened like really fast.
Yeah. Almost like it didn't happen.
Yeah, almost like it
really?
didn't.
Oh, really, Luke?
Yeah.
She went from 0 to 180 though. Like Claire.
Yes.
Like she was looking at his website and like he was the one that was doing all this. He wanted the haunted website. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she's like, I got this. So I found the characters like a little like inconsistent. Right? Like what? All of a sudden she's really into this.
Yeah. But I think after the college dropout scene, she's like, I need to do something with my life. This is it.
She seemed kind of like scared of things, and all of a sudden she's like, I'm going to have an authority and like go do this. So that's a little weird.
I
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with you, Ash. But so one of the scenes after this, right? I want to talk about it in the synopsis because it's quite funny. And I think one of the things that Ty West does well in this is he really mixes humor with some of the horror.
Yes.
So there's this hilarious scene where Claire's bringing out the trash. She can't, and it's exactly how I would do. Like I wouldn't be able to do that. She brings out this huge heavy trash bag.
So
She's trying to get it in the
funny.
trash bin, and watch this part. It's quite hilarious. Like that was realistic to me. That tracked. That would happen to me. I wouldn't be able to get it in the trash bin.
What was in that trash?
I don't know. It was
garbage
leaking.
juice
It was
like
disgusting.
coming.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is
She
in
can't get it
that? What is in that? And you like,
I know.
like beer? Like what's in this trash?
I don't know. Maybe it's vodka. Maybe it's leftover vodka.
Maybe it's all of the leftover vodka. Although I don't think she was leaving any leftovers. If you know what I mean.
So.
I think
she was
that
drinking
going
those
down.
little nips dry. Yeah.
Yes, she was. But it was so funny when she goes over because like her strategy for putting, she's like, because it was like this big bin and she had to like lift up the thing, but she only had a little bit of time before the top of the bin came back down. And,
exactly.
So she had to get that bag up there. It was so funny.
It was great.
But yeah, I thought that was relatable.
Yeah. But so that scene, right? So they spend time on the trash. It's funny, but she looks up and Lee is watching her from the window. And that's just kind of a creepy scene, right? She like waves. Yeah. Watching, judging that she's taking the trash out. And Claire waves at her.
What are you doing with your life? You
Response.
can't even take trash out. My God. What are you doing?
Lee just leaves. But I think, we learn later that there's some concern there on Lee's end, right, about Claire's fate at the hotel. But so then this is an important scene to talk about, right? She sees a bird, she goes into the garage and realizes that the cellar door in the garage is open. So she shuts it and she locks it. So now the cellar door in the garage,
the hatch and potentially her own fate.
That's right. That's right. So that cellar door will come back in at the end. Okay. So, after she takes the trash out and the cellar door and everything. So she's at night, she's trying to get these recordings. Another very, really important scene is she goes up. Claire's very freaked out by this, right? And she runs into Lee upstairs at the hotel and Lee asks her to keep it down. But she goes into Lee and sort of is describing to her what she's seeing, right? That she saw this ghost, that these creepy things are happening. And this is when we learn too about kind of Lee's abilities as a medium. Yeah. So she offers to help.
Lee like invites her in, which
she does. She invites her into her hotel
room. She was
way
way too nice to Claire, I think. She was a hotel staff and she was a guest and she's like, all right, come on in. I think I can help you.
Let's do this.
Let's go.
But she goes in and this is when we see that she likes the little vodka nip bottles too, right? So she does. She has Claire. She's like, you need to calm down. And she has Claire take a sip of one. So Claire has some. But then Lee takes out her crystal pendulum. And I think this is really effective too, right? So Lee asks Claire, like, what do you want to know about the ghosts? And Claire can't really form a sentence there. Like, are there ghosts here? Are they real? Again, it's not really specific. But Claire has this pendulum. And so she's able to contact these ghosts and you start seeing the pendulum like start to move a lot faster, right?
Yeah.
So she says that there are 3 ghosts. In the hotel.
3 spirits.
3 spirits, that's right. So
she really makes that distinction.
She does. So we've learned about ghosts, we've learned about demons, now we've got another one.
Spirits. Yeah, it's their own take on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really know what the difference is, but Lee does.
She does.
And she explains.
She does.
Well, she doesn't explain. She just says spirits.
Yeah. But we've learned there's 3 of them. She lost contact and Lee looks visibly freaked out, right? Yeah. And one thing she says to Claire at this point is, you mustn't go in the basement. So, we know that Madeline O'Malley's body was buried down there in the 1800s. Yeah. Lee is clearly referring to something also about the basement and that Claire shouldn't be going down there. Yeah. Again, foreshadowing of what happens at the end of this movie.
Yes. Basement, bad. Don't go. Yeah. And just like every idiot non-final girl, she ignores that advice at the end. That's why she wasn't a final girl.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. This one doesn't end quite the same as some of these other movies that we've been talking about.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes it interesting too. So Claire finally does go to bed at the end of her shift, and she has a dream of Madeline O'Malley, right, and goes down to Luke. So I think again, there's a lot of these. Clearly, Claire is connected to these spirits in this hotel. She's seeing things. So I think, again, that's an important piece that we see throughout the movie. And this brings us to chapter 3. And chapter 3 is called A Final Guest.
So good.
And it's so great. So this is, I absolutely love this part. So a final guest. So
it's the audio of it. Well,
it's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. And so one more person checks in, and it is this older gentleman. And so he walks up, he's got kind of like an old timey like suit on, one little old suitcase. Yeah. And he goes up and he's very specific about where he wants to stay. So he specifically wants to stay in room 353. Right. He's like, no, it has to be room 353. They inform him that the third floor they are not having anyone stay there. The furniture's been removed and stripped, but he is adamant about wanting to stay in room 353. So
he's
Claire
like, take my money.
Yeah,
he is.
My
bundled up
I believe cash. Yeah. So
can imagine. Just throws it out, just crumpled cash.
We don't know how much it was, right? It was just like a crumpled up thing of cash.
It looked like a bunch of ones. Like, I don't think they cared. They wanted a credit card, but he's
I
like,
wonder
I
how much money it would cost, though, even, right? Like, how much do you think those rooms are going for? The Yankee Pedlar Inn.
They should pay him. What, the no furniture rooms? $10
furniture rooms.
Like,
like, so maybe it was
like
just $10 bills.
Well, he stayed
really
there a long time ago.
He's
like, this $10 back in 1940. So will this do? Take my crumpled up ones.
So they oblige, Claire's like, we can let him stay there and I can bring some sheets up. So they take his money and Claire brings him up to the room, but not before stopping off the laundry room to get some sheets. So she brings him up to room 353.
Very floral sheets.
Yeah.
They were like,
they were
yellow,
a lot of florals in the movie, actually.
Pink flowers on them.
And we get to the room, we realize she's like, it's the honeymoon suite, right? So they go in, room 353, honeymoon suite. He's all happy to be in there. She leaves it with the sheets and then just goes off.
Would you say he's happy to be in there?
I think he's happy.
Does he smile?
Happy to be in there. I don't think he smiles, Ash. I mean, but I think he
takes those sheets. He's home. Yeah. Well, he takes those sheets. And Claire doesn't even put them on the bed. Like, was there a bed?
Mm-mm.
She just gives him the sheets.
There was a bed. Well, there's a mattress. There was a bed.
Yeah,
there was no other furniture. Yeah, well,
he's like, here you go. Here you go, sir. What is he paying for? What is this poor man paying for?
And so we learned too, right, that this older gentleman, he had spent his honeymoon at the Yankee Pedlar Inn, so he wants to revisit that and stay in the honeymoon room again. And it's just, the way his character's set up, he's speaking in just really short kind of sentences, but he's like, he is happy to be there, right?
This is why I'm here.
And it's just some final nostalgia. Yeah. I don't know why we're giving him, I don't know what kind of accent we're giving him, Ash, but
that's what he sounded like. He's like, it'll be fine. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like a mix of like Borat and something.
You're giving him like an accent. Yeah, he sounds like Borat. He didn't sound like Borat, listeners.
He had like this mustache. Like a little mustache thing, kind of looked like Mr. Peanut a little bit.
He did look like Mr. Peanut. Yeah. Yeah. So Luke agrees that he'll stay up with Claire that final night to try to get some of these recordings, right, of Madeline O'Malley, some creepy things happening in the hotel, but only if she'll drink beer with him. So this is when they proceed to get drunk off of the Schlicht beer or something.
What
I believe
is it?
Is.
Yeah, what was it?
Is that a real beer? I feel like we've seen that in other movies. I believe it is a real beer. Yeah. That was our other option today, but since we did Budweiser at the last one, we wanted to switch it up.
So a little nugget on that scene. Do you know that Pat Healy like really wanted to drink the beer? He's like, I think we should barely be drinking it. But then Ty West,
no.
Yeah, he wanted to actually like get drunk, I guess. And Ty West like put his foot down. He was like, no, because there's no going back. Like once they're drunk, like you can't like go back from that. So he said no. But so I guess it was non-alcoholic beer or whatever. But anyway.
Yeah. That would have been funny if they did actually do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's great. So this is the last night and they're a little drunk at this point. So they're going around to try to get some recordings. And this is certainly, everything's kind of been leading up to this, right? Elevating to this. But this is also when he's almost, I guess, professing his love for Claire at this point. I mean, obviously we knew he was secretly in love with her.
Yeah.
But there's, again, some creepy behavior there.
It's so awkward. Like she's like friend zoning him, but she's also trying to like change the subject. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's kind of like line there. Like it's just awkward.
It's creepy. It is awkward. It made me uncomfortable watching it. Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable. Yes.
Yeah.
Not good.
But I think to change the subject, right? She's like, she has this idea. She's like, let's go to the basement.
Yes.
So Luke kind of like begrudgingly agrees and goes with her. Yeah, so they go down to this basement and they go into the room where Madeline O'Malley's body was buried, and they're in there, and that scene's great too. The cinematography of that scene, so it's really really dark. It's just the two of them, and it's like kind of like if you've ever played Ouija board or things like that when you were a kid. It's kind of those questions you would ask. You're like, Right? I thought that was like very realistic.
Give us a sign if you're here with us.
Give us a sign, exactly.
Like, we have done little...
It reminded me of things we did.
Yeah.
You're like, and so they're down there. Yeah. And Claire's like, did you hear that? And Luke like shakes his head, yes, right? So they're hearing something in the EVP. And then Claire's like, did you feel that? And he's like, yes. And so they're feeling like a wind or something, right? So they know something's close. And then she's like, do you see that? Right. Yeah. So she sees Madeline O'Malley, I guess, behind Luke. And at this point, Luke is like, I am out. Like, this is too much for me. He gets up.
I'm in love with you, but this is too much.
Like, I can't do this. Yeah. So
he could not get out of there fast enough. He leaves her behind.
He leaves the hotel. Yeah. He leaves her behind.
So what like bothered me so much, well, not bothered me, like I said before, they were kind of inconsistent because all of a sudden she's all brave now, Claire, and she was scared before. So like she built up.
But she's drunk, Ash. Maybe it's the alcohol.
Yeah.
She's
like, that's true.
Yeah. Some beers.
Alcohol brings out bravery in her, brings out cowardness in Luke.
Yeah, anyway. It does. So Luke gets the hell out of there, but as he's leaving, Claire's like, I thought you've like seen her before, right? Like she's so surprised that he's so freaked out. Exactly. And he's the one with the website. Yeah. And so we learned that Luke lied about everything. Luke never saw Madeline O'Malley or anything. He is a fraud. So Claire, at this point, really Claire's kind of the only ones that's seen anything, right? Yeah. Ghostly in the hotel. So Luke leaves, he's out. At this point, Claire goes again into the room of Lee. So the hotel worker just breaks into Lee's room, wakes her up, obviously sees all the little vodka nip bottles, wakes her up and is saying that she needs help. Lee's like dead asleep at this point. And she agrees. Drunk. So she gets up and she's like passed out from the nips. So she gets up and she goes down to the basement with Claire with the little crystal pendulum, right? And so she's trying to contact these ghosts.
So when she walks in on Lee, like you said, Lee's dead asleep and just wakes up and she's like, all right, I got to do this. Like, this is my calling. She just chugs the vodka. Lee does.
She does. She takes a nip and just like chugs it
barefoot into the basement with her like long nightgown flowing. But she's armed with her pendulum, so it's all going to be okay. That little pendulum necklace thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous, but
I know. But she takes her down. And so now Lee and Claire go back to that room where they just had made contact with Madeline. So they're down there in this room, right? Trying to make contact with the ghost.
In the basement.
So Lee has in the basement, where Madeline O'Malley's body was buried. And so Lee has her pendulum and it's just a swinging at this point, right? A lot of activity down there. And then they hear this like loud bang and then it just shatters. Yeah. And so at that point, Lee is clearly freaked out. She's saying they are in grave danger and they need to get out of there. So they need to leave the hotel. Yeah. And so at this point, they go upstairs, see Claire's freaking out. Lee goes to get her things. Claire's freaking out. She realizes, they have one last guest up on the third floor. So she wants to go up and warn him also that they need to get out of there. Yeah. So she goes up to that third floor. She goes up to room 353.
The one time Claire was doing something good on her job.
Open. She was. Yeah. She was trying to help the guy because they were in grave danger. Yeah. So she goes in. The room is wide open. She goes to the bathroom and she finds that older gentleman had killed himself in the bathroom. There's a note.
Yeah.
He left it to his late wife, right? That he'll be able to join her now.
Yeah.
So he killed himself in the room where they had their honeymoon.
That is quite the scene as well.
Like it is gory. You just see his dead body, all the blood. Yeah.
He slit his wrists. He slit his wrists in the bathtub.
And he didn't. I think right away. I mean, I think he's been dead for some time now.
I think so. He didn't even need the sheets. He went straight to the bathtub and
he didn't. He took them though, right? Yeah.
He
still took them. He still had Claire come up with them. Yeah. But yeah, he that was his way of killing himself, the slitting his wrists. Yikes. So Claire's very freaked out by this. So she runs downstairs. And at this point, Luke felt bad. Luke has returned. So he felt bad about leaving her.
Did he feel bad?
Well, I don't know. Or what? He just realized he could withstand it because he was in love with her. I don't know, Ash.
I think he forgot his computer. He had to come back for it.
He came back for that. And he just made something up saying, right? Yeah, maybe. But Luke came back. And so he tells Claire to stay. Yeah, like every horror movie, they separate, right? So he tells Claire to stay in the lobby and he goes up to check on Lee to see where she is. Mm-hmm. And then we're now in the final scenes of the movie. Yeah. Claire, instead of staying there, where it's safe in the lobby, she thinks she hears something in the basement and she goes back down there a third time. So she goes back to the basement. I know.
Again, non-final girl behavior.
Yeah,
That's the non-final
Get
girl
the hell
stuff.
out of there and stay
get out of
together. Why
there.
didn't she go with Luke? I don't know why she didn't go with Luke to finally.
Why does she trust Luke?
Yeah,
is what I want to know.
That's
why
true.
are you listening to this man who abandoned you and is like a total creep?
Yeah.
Anyway, Claire.
So she goes downstairs. And as she's going down, like, we see that she's just like seeing things at this point, right?
In the basement.
She goes down to the stairs, and behind her we see the old man who's just killed himself now. His ghost there. She falls down the stairs. She hurts her head at this point, and she just keeps seeing these ghosts. She's seeing Madeline O'Malley's ghost. She's trying to run away from it. She gets herself into that room again where Madeline O'Malley's body was buried, locks the door, and is still trying to get away from it. Is screaming for help. Goes over, Madeline O'Malley's like, I guess, at the door, and she can't get out that way. She goes over to the cellar door, but like we learned earlier, the cellar door to the garage is locked, so she can't get out. She can't get out.
Locked it.
Yep. So then it just cuts to the epilogue, and we see the cops bringing a body out, and so you don't know right away, right? But then you're like, oh no. So they, Claire met her demise.
She did. Her demise.
Her demise.
Drink. Every time we say demise, everyone has to drink.
So, Claire is being taken out by the corner.
Cops
and
did not seem to care. Or the corner, they're just like,
maybe they're not surprised. Again. They're like, another one at Yankee Pedlar.
Another one at Yankee Pedlar. They were so insensitive.
Yeah.
Rewatch that scene, everybody. You're like, no, like, she's dead.
And Luke doesn't seem to care that much either. He doesn't.
Like, that guy's a sociopath.
Yeah,
he's a sociopath.
I have really
some theories that I want to discuss.
I'm quite excited about
later.
that.
Yeah.
Your disdain for Luke is clear, Ash.
I do not like that man. I do not like that character. Luke. I'm
not sure you're supposed to.
Don't like
him. But again, I don't know if I like Claire very much either. So she's being taken away, and we learn. So Luke says that he found. This is great, right? Because you don't realize it at the time, but. She wasn't killed by a ghost of Madeline O'Malley. She was killed. She died from an asthma attack. So she didn't have an inhaler with her. It was outside the door. She was envisioning ghosts and Luke was actually down there trying to get in and help her, but she wouldn't open the door. So in the end, she succumbed to an asthma attack. Yeah. That
was pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a twist ending, but it was.
I
like how they revealed that at the end.
It was great. It was great. And then, so, the very end, it goes back up to Claire's room, and that's like such a great scene. And we can talk about that later in Sips and Scares. But now Claire's maybe one of the spirits in Yankee Pedlar Inn.
So good. And the original title for this, which Ty West, because he wrote and directed it, right?
Yeah.
It was just like a temporary title. And I guess they couldn't use it because there was already another movie that was called The Long Weekend.
Oh,
that was the original title, which I think would have been good.
I like
Innkeepers
that.
Is way better.
Yeah, Innkeepers is cool.
They took The Long Weekend, they put it in like the first chapter. It was going to be The Long Weekend. Which long weekend was it? Like, we don't know. Was it just like a long weekend or was it like a holiday weekend? Because
I don't know, Ash.
Ron, the owner, was in Barbados.
Yeah, so he was gone. Yeah.
That dude's going to come back and be like, you guys had one job. You had one job to close
and
up
you
this
died.
hotel. And you died. A guest died.
Yeah, like, a lot of bad things happened.
Ron comes back to Connecticut in his Hawaiian shirt from Barbados. Yes. And he's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, what happened?
Closed.
My Yankee Pedlar Inn.
Yeah.
Baby.
So Ty West, do you know like the story behind this? Like we talked about the Yankee Pedlar Inn. So Frank and Alice Conley opened it, right? In the late 1800s. She died in room 353.
That was their apartment. Yeah, they lived there. That was their apartment. Yeah, and she died there from cancer, like not by a ghost, but
Right, yeah. But people say that they've experienced all these things. And the rocking chair was really prominent. People said in the lobby they would see the rocking chair rocking by itself. But the reason that Ty West was interested is because, have you seen House of the Devil?
I have seen House of the Devil. Oh my God. So great.
Like, that might be his best.
Together.
We did. Okay, we watched it together. Okay. That might be his best one. That is so good. But when they were filming House of the Devil, they stayed at the Yankee Pedlar Inn.
I know. Yeah.
Right. So the staff was experiencing these things, and they saw like lights flickering, turning off and on by themselves. They heard things. They all experienced really vivid dreams, like all of them when they were staying in the inn. And they thought that was really, really weird. And I guess Sarah Paxton, she was convinced in one of the rooms that she was in that there was someone in the room with her. She was like totally freaked out. Yeah.
She said that, and the phone would ring too, I think.
Oh, the phone
right.
would
She said
ring.
the phone would just ring on its own. Well, they stayed there. I think that's important part too, right? So they stayed there when they were filming House of the Devil.
Yeah.
They also stayed there when they were filming this movie over the course of 17 days. So everyone stayed at the hotel together.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure added to the creep factor.
Oh, it was so good. Like
The
they barely had to do
cinematography
anything.
was so great. The cinematography of this movie and just like the scenes and all the furniture, the wallpaper, everything. It was so unsettling.
The sheets.
Oh,
I
like you
was
said, the
upset by
floral
the
sheets. Yeah.
It was so good. I guess apparently another thing, they had a hard time finding an actress to play Lee.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess, and I thought there was a lot of ageism in this movie, and the actresses did as well, because they kept calling her an insecure old actress.
Yeah.
Right. They kept saying that. It was like,
I
so
know.
mean.
It was mean.
So a lot of actresses who they approached to star in the movie, they were like, no, I'll do it, but like take that out. Like that is not okay.
Like,
Don't make her an
so.
actress. Like ageism. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But I guess Kelly McGillis was okay with it. She did great. She was creepy in her own right. She was great. Yeah.
I know.
She was really good. All right. So where did you see this movie?
Well, Ash, I saw it with you in California.
Oh, yes.
We watched this one together. Yeah. So we watched this movie after we discovered. Yeah. But we didn't watch it in 2011. We watched it later, a few years later. And it was after we had gotten really into Wayward Pines, and Ty West had directed a few of those. So we were looking for other things that he had done. And we discovered this one and House of the Devil. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I believe we watched them both, probably one right after another. But you and I watched this together. I'll never forget that. And we loved it.
And he has a real penchant for like older timey like scores for one thing. The score in this movie
the score is good. It's
so good and kind of like, it's not campy. Like we talked about Friday the 13th, that was campy. This was just like old timey. Yeah. I don't even really know how else to describe it. It was just so good. And it kind of like was jarring and kind of set you off kilter a little bit the way it was done with the scares. But it was absolutely excellent. So I love all of his movies. They're so good. And
me too. I'll see everything he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now it's time for Screamometer. Allie, what do you give this one? What's your rating for the Innkeepers?
Yeah, I've thought about this, Ash. I did. I've gone back and forth. You know, I thought about how I was feeling in the moment.
Lying awake at night, just like
kept me up last night.
Contemplating what you're going to give it a rating.
I give this one a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10.
My goodness.
I think.
Are we changing roles? Like for real? Are we like Claire and Luke in this movie?
God, I hope not. Please don't let me be Luke or Claire.
No, I don't want to be any of them. I would rather be Lee. I'll be Lee.
Lee. If I'm going to choose any of them, I'm going to choose Lee.
Tips on Lee.
So am I the old man who killed himself? All right. Well,
I don't know if you have to choose dealer's choice.
7 out of 10. I just think there's the moments that really got me, and it still got me on rewatch. Yeah. You know, that scene in the basement when they're like trying to make contact, it was unsettling. It was eerie. It got me. I think it elevates the movie. 7 out of 10 for me. So you're going to go lower, I'm assuming.
Okay. So, you know, people, they talk about this on like Reddit and they give recommendations. They're like, watch this movie with the lights out alone at home. Yeah. They tell people to do that because like, then it will be scary. Okay. For me, I love this movie. I think it's fantastic for Ty West. I'm giving it a 5. And I'm mainly basing that on other haunted hotel movies. Like 1408, for example, go back to episode 1. I thought that was way scarier, but I think this one was effective and good. But the first scare doesn't happen like for 40 minutes into the movie. So I think for me, that's what it was. Like, it's not
the buildup.
It's eerie.
But you get the buildup and you're just like, you're waiting for it. And I think we've talked, you know, my feelings on this. I think the lead up to the scare is scarier.
Yes.
You're waiting for something to happen. It doesn't always happen, but that just leaves that anticipation and it elevates the movie.
Maybe doing this podcast has like habituated me a little bit to like horror. And I'm like, nah, it's got to be like paranormal for me is 10. Like, it's got to be like that.
You started out with like 9s and 8s at the beginning, Ash.
I did, but I stand by those. I really do. I think this is a 5. I think it's worth the watch. It's a really good, great definitely movie. Has some horror, has some scares. It's really good. I don't know. I'm just comparing it to like the haunted hotel ones, like The Shining and 1408, which I thought were scarier, but still an excellent movie. Okay, now we're moving on to Sip and Tell, where we discuss our personal experiences related to the content of The Innkeepers. Allie, What do you have? Do you have some personal stories like related to the plight of a, Claire and Luke and the Yankee Pedlar Inn? What do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done like EVP recordings at a hotel, but
No,
yeah, I feel like I've stayed.
Never say never.
Maybe now. I'm reminded like how kind of cool that would be. No, but I've stayed at hotels like that. There's one, and you've stayed there too, Ash. I don't know if you remember this. This wasn't too long ago.
Why is my memory so bad? I'm like,
I know. When we lived in California, we would stay at the Palomar Inn in Temecula. The Palomar, and it was kind of like that, right? So
that was
the
scary for other reasons.
Yeah, many reasons. So it's, a 2-star hotel in Temecula.
Will we call it a hotel? Will we call it a hotel?
I think we call it a hotel. An inn. Well, let's call it an inn. You walk in very much like the Yankee Pedlar Inn, right? It just has stairs. There's no elevators. It's like a few rooms. But it was also thought to be haunted. Yes. Right. So it had been around for like 100 years or something, kind of when it was an old stagecoach. And so we stay there a few times when we would be out in Temecula wine tasting. And, we would at night go around to see if we could find anything, not with an EVP recorder. But you were there with me, Ash.
I was there.
We've gone out to see if we could find anything.
We had a nice day, drinking wine. And then we were like, let's scare the guests. Like, we were ridiculous. We were like going around
ridiculous.
Like
we were the ghosts.
We were.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were the ones trying to scare the others. So maybe now they have stories where they're like, stayed at the Palomar Inn this one night.
These two twins.
And I heard fingernails. No, maybe they didn't even know it was us, right? They're like, I heard scratches.
I would love that. I would love if I was a part of someone's like horror story at a hotel. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So maybe we are, Ash. But I think Palomar Inn of where we stayed was kind of the most similar to Yankee Pedlar Inn.
Okay, so I have one, and it was an inn. It was a Days Inn at and or near the Kansas City airport. What can I say? Yeah. It was like a park and fly.
You stayed there by choice. Yeah, you stayed there by choice.
It was like what was available. It was around Christmas, and we were flying out to visit you at Christmas. And it was like a dog friendly, hotel. So hotel inn. The Days Inn. I think it just like snowed the day before, so we arrive at this Days Inn. Yeah, and we go up to I think we go up to like the front desk, which is, that's a nice term for it. That's being generous. And we ring the bell because there was no one there.
There's an actual bell like in this movie? Like ding, ding, ding.
Yes, 100%. There was no one there because I think we arrived like late. It was like 11:30 at night or something. And our flight was like 6 a.m. So we were just staying the night. And we arrived there, had to ring the bell, and this older woman comes out and she's like, oh, hi. And like, it was literally like straight out of this movie. Let's just get you checked in. Let's get you set up. And then they bring us to our first floor motel room, which was just great, as you can imagine. Flickering lights, like dark, gross brown carpets. You go into the room and it's just as gross as the hallway. Questionable bedding.
Was it floral?
Lights were still, I think it was floral wallpaper. I'm going to go out and say, I think it was. Yeah. And it wasn't like one of the renovated rooms. Even the renovated ones weren't that nice.
But Ash, and the old-timey phone, was it one of those like beige, like old-timey phones too?
Yes, it was. It definitely was. Yeah. And like you turn on the faucets and it was like brown. But this is the kicker. So I had to go get some water. I'm like, I need some water. So I go out. Like, I'll talk to that lady at the front desk. I go out and she's not there anymore. She is not there. I don't know where she is.
Was she even real?
Exactly. At this point, it's like midnight. I think I ring the bell and I kind of wait, and then she like, arrives from like the back room or something. But literally the creepiest stay I've ever had. Thank goodness we had our dog there, which made it seem a little more normal, but just like a little creepy. And there were people outside like shoveling the snow and stuff, but it was very deserted. Yeah. I don't know who else was staying there, but I remember the flickering lights, and it was just not great.
Any seeings, any Madeline O'Malley like apparitions in the room, Ash?
I mean, I didn't see any, but I felt a ghostly presence. I think the ghostly presence was that, it was quite dirty. I don't know who stayed there, but yeah, the Days Inn by the Kansas City airport, not great. Yeah. You know what? They had no minibar, and if they did, I think that would have helped. Like,
you would have got into those nips.
I definitely would have, because they don't really.
You would have lead it.
They don't really do mini bars as much anymore, but that would have been nice. Days Inn, put a mini bar in so people can like deal with your, I don't know, very dated hotel, motel. I don't know what to call it. But that was my experience with the hotel.
And I wonder, maybe even a hotel like that, it's even too low grade for ghosts to haunt. I like to think that ghosts have standards.
They have a certain standard.
Days Inn outside at the Kansas City airport, not it.
Now it is time for Sips and Scares, where we discuss our favorite scariest parts of the Innkeepers.
Yeah.
What is your number one? Al, like what was the scariest part for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the last shot of the entire movie.
Yes.
That for me was the scariest. So I didn't talk about this whole thing during synopsis, but the last scene of the movie. So it goes up, so Claire's dead, Luke's getting Lee, they're getting out of there, but it revisits Claire's room.
Yeah.
And the doors open, and it's just the camera on that room in the window for maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. Just still.
So effective.
So
and
good.
so you're watching it and like, something's coming, right? Something's coming, but it's just the way Ty West did it. He just had the camera on that room for like 30 seconds, quiet. You're just watching this room, waiting for something to happen. And at the very, very end, the door slams shut. So I wasn't necessarily expecting the door to slam shut. I was expecting to like see something else. Apparently there's like apparently people can see faint Claire in the window. I didn't see that on rewatch. Oh, there is. Okay. I didn't see that on rewatch though.
Look it up. Someone posted it. You know, the heroes doing the work for us on like Reddit, and they posted a GIF of it. And
you
can
see her. Okay.
Because she's apparently, and she's like just in the curtains, like you said, and she's looking out the window. But then when she turns to look at the camera, the door shuts.
Oh, it does. But did you notice that on rewatch? Because I didn't. I was just like looking around too much. And so I need to rewatch it, but that's fantastic. But that scene, just the last, like, it's like the jump scare at the end. I mean, for me, best scare of the movie. Yeah.
And because you're waiting for something to happen, like you said. That was a callback. That scene was a callback to the video that Luke showed Claire at the very beginning.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, that is so clever. So well done. Yes. He shows her this video. He's like, oh, you got to watch this. Like I caught something. And again, it's that damn rocking chair. And the rocking chair is just like rocking. And she's like, what is this? And then, you see these on YouTube a lot and like, you're just watching it and it's really still. And then this like ghost comes out. I was like, like it's the jump scare.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a callback to that.
Oh, it was.
So when I was watching it, I'm like, wait, I knew something was going to happen, but it was a nice book ending of the scares. Yeah. So I thought that was really good.
What else, Ash? So that was your scariest. What other scary parts of the movie?
I thought that was so scary. I already said before, I think one of the scariest parts is when she goes up to Luke's room and he's in his tiny whities. Like that's just scary for a different reason.
What about the first time they go to the basement? The first time they go to the basement and they turn that, I remember because I wrote that down, they turn the light switch on and the light just blows. That was pretty scary too, actually. And it set the tone that they shouldn't maybe not be down there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the ending when she's in the basement by herself, because it's very like isolated and the ghosts in quotation marks are chasing her was very effective and very scary because that she has no way out because that she's going to that room and she had already locked herself in. So that was pretty scary. Yeah. But the best for me was when they're down there in the basement and Luke and she's like, do you hear that? Do you see that? And she thinks,
I know. I love that part.
That's so good. And then I thought that was actually realistic because then he's get me out of here.
Get me out of here. I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have stayed there. Like, do you feel it?
I don't know if it's like one specific scare in this movie, but I thought like the atmosphere itself, like it was a deserted hotel, right? Yeah. You have two guests, or I guess three guests, right? That whole thing. And they come in and they're all kind of creepy. Every single one of them is weird.
Oh, yeah.
Like Lee's super weird.
Good character-driven movie, right? They were all very specific characters. They had this very specific role. And they were, even Lena Dunham at the coffee shop was creepy.
You liked Lena Dunham. I'm just like, I don't even understand what this, was she related to someone?
I thought it was great. I don't know.
How did she get this role?
Well, this was 2011 and this was before Girls came out. So this was maybe one of her first roles or something.
That. I thought it was so odd. Because I'm always looking for like context or like, are you pushing the plot forward? Yeah. But yeah, I thought like just the atmosphere of it, like the hotel itself was just very scary. And like they made it eerie with the lights on, right? Yeah. They go into like the laundry room. She goes into the like Clue, basically. She goes into the ballroom.
I thought all of that
Clue. Was so scary. Yeah. She was basically going through like room by room.
Yeah, the hotel itself was a character in this movie, Ash.
It was much like The Shining. Yeah. And I thought when she does the EVP recording, and like you said earlier, because you can hear it. Yeah, it goes back and forth.
I love that.
Where you hear everything, like when she has the headphones on and then she takes it off, it's completely silent. Yes. When she goes into that room and it's like the old timey piano music and then you see the two keys going.
So good. That scene is great. But it's coming too, right? You know that's coming. They focus on the keys. Yeah. You know it's coming and it's still jarring. Yeah.
So what do we think? I mean, clearly you knew that old man. I knew he was going to like do something. Like he was really kind of creepy, but I thought that was a really like jarring suicide scene when they showed him.
Oh, yeah.
And then just the ghosts, right? The ghosts themselves when they appear were pretty scary.
And no special effects, right? This movie, we didn't talk about the budget,
No.
but I think this movie was made for $750,000.
Yeah.
And no special
Just makeup.
effects. So that was, just makeup. So that was actually the old man standing behind her. The actress that played Madeline O'Malley, right, was actually doing that. Yeah. Which I always say, it's like CGI in horror movies I don't really like.
Not good.
Which is why some of the stuff in 1408 for me wasn't as scary. But this, when it's the people standing behind it, and they don't do jump scares. They don't do like that crazy loud music. You just see it. Like, it was really good.
That's true. Yeah, they don't alert you to it. I thought too when she was sleeping and you just see the sheet like go up.
Oh yeah,
right. When she's sleeping in a room, when Claire's sleeping in a room, you see the sheet go up and then the sheet goes down and it's Madeline O'Malley's face. I mean, that was good.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good.
And you knew it was her because you had seen the website and you knew what she looked like, kind of. So I thought that was really well done. I thought too when the older gentleman arrived and she goes to the laundry room to get the sheets and then he kind of like disappears.
Oh yeah, she looks back and he's not there.
He's not there.
He's just looking at the photos.
It even just says like voice because you hear like the audio at the beginning and then
do his voice again, Ash. I want to hear accent.
Hello, I would like to check in for one night only.
Listeners, let us know, how is she doing on this one? How's that acting on
that would be fine. That's all I need. It was like that. That was it. I am killing it. That is what he sounded like.
You are. I think that's great.
But when he tells her, I thought it was so good. When he tells her, it kind of feels like home, don't you think? And he looks at her. So that was the whole thing. I'm like, it was almost foreshadowing her death, don't you think?
But the whole movie was foreshadowing her death.
She was going to die as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, and they were all going to stay in the hotel.
The three spirits that Lee refers to, right, when she's contacting them, there's theories on this, and I agree with it. They are the old man, Madeline, and Claire. So that's not, there were some thoughts that it was the people that killed Madeline, but no, there's the three spirits that died there. So Madeline, old man, Claire.
And because Lee says, she's like, she explains to them her powers or whatever, her gifts.
She warns her not to go in the basement. She still goes in the basement. She's warned multiple times not to go down there.
She has, but she explains to Claire and Luke that her gifts are more, she's like, did you ever experience deja vu? They're like, yeah. She's like, well, mine's like deja vu, but backwards. But it's not always clear. Right. So that's the thing. Like it wasn't really explicit what was going to happen, but she knew that Claire was going to be in danger. So she didn't necessarily, I don't think she knew about the older man per se. So it wasn't necessarily clear, but I like that. Like you're counting, you're like, well, there's one.
Yeah.
Right? And there, the old man's two. Now she's three.
Exactly. Now it's three. Exactly. So the three, that was really well done in the movie. Yeah. And it makes you think. Again, this movie has different layers, and you watch it the first time, I think even on rewatch, right? It gets you thinking. It's a great movie.
It does. Definitely makes you not want to work at an inn. Maybe the overnight shift. Maybe I don't want the overnight shift.
I don't want the overnight shift.
I'll take the other 7 to 7.
Luke should have taken the night shift too,
Dude was not a gentleman. Okay, now we are moving on to cliches and ripoffs. So what were the cliches? What were the ripoffs of the Innkeepers? What do you got, Al?
Well, cliches, the telephone ringing, right? That's done in like so many movies. I mean, setting a horror movie in a hotel in itself is a cliche.
Yes.
The shower scene, very psycho, right? Very psycho.
That's a ripoff.
That is a ripoff. I think, so for me, and I don't know if you clocked this. So I think I kept thinking about this, one of the biggest ripoffs, so that they ripped off, and I wonder if Ty West was inspired by this movie, but The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, that 90s movie. And so where the main character protagonist has asthma, and there's that end scene, right, where she's having an asthma attack, and she fakes an asthma attack to survive getting killed by the nanny or whatever. And so I think something similar here, right? So throughout.
So true. And I did not clock that.
Yeah.
That's really good insight.
Yeah.
That's so good. And now we need to go watch that movie. That's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have one last one though. And I also want to ask if you've seen this. And I didn't do a deep dive to see if this was on purpose, but I have to think that it was on purpose. The scene where Lee, Kelly McGinnis' character, is going down the stairs, and the first time she goes down the basement stairs, and all you see is the shadow of her going down those stairs.
Right.
It just immediately evoked The Exorcist for me.
Right. Yes.
And so, did you see that too?
I thought she looked exactly like the actress in The Exorcist.
I actually had to Google that. I'm like, wait, was that the mom in The Exorcist?
I did too.
But that scene, and that had to be on purpose, right, Ash?
I think she was channeling her.
I think
she was like classy and stuff, but she had the alcoholism thrown in, right, to make it a little different potentially. But yeah, I thought the whole time she was to me, she was like a mix between the mom from The Exorcist and a little bit like Mrs. Voorhees with the hair.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Which was kind of creepy.
Yeah, we've learned from our listeners too that Mrs. Voorhees reminded a lot of people of their mothers and aunts.
Yeah, and they were like, and that was terrifying enough. So I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think, and I think the cliches. I mean, obviously, them always going off by themselves.
Yeah, I know.
If you go off by yourself, you're gonna die. Like
you will die. You will die.
Time. And I think she was like she wasn't a final girl because she died. Claire,
no.
right? I think she was
wasn't
really
very smart.
horrible non-final girl.
Yeah.
And just kind of like roaming around and very inconsistent and was very affected by people's opinion of her.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I got to like figure this out. This is gonna be my purpose now. I'm going to like go ghost hunting basically. It's kind of weird.
She's going from that. And she sealed her own fate. She sealed her own fate by locking that door.
And they spent so much time on that scene where she's like locking it. You're like, well, clearly this is going to be pivotal at the end. Yeah. I think too, just like the creepy older woman with the psychic powers. I mean, it's usually, that was like The Shining with the chef dude who had like the powers, very, very similar to that.
Yes.
And just speaking of The Shining, come on. Like
you also mention The Shining a lot. Take a drink every time Ash mentions The Shining when we talk about movies.
Okay.
Cheers.
But Ty West, I think he's talked about this in interviews as well, was like inspired by The Shining. The beginning is exactly like The Shining. It's like the black and white with the Overlook Hotel, basically.
Oh, it is.
Right.
It
and
is like The Shining.
So I thought the end was pretty clever because it looks like they're going in on that picture. Right at the end, I'm like, this is The Shining. They're going to show.
I thought the exact same. I thought the exact same thing on rewatch.
But then it diverts and it goes to her room. So
that was on purpose.
It was definitely on purpose. I thought that was really good. And I mean, 1408 clearly was done before, but they were like, I see your CGI ghosts, and I'm gonna like up the ante and just put makeup,
make them real ghosts.
Yeah,
and to be fair, it was because he didn't have the budget for it. But still,
you think 1408 had a budget for those weird CGI ghosts? Like I think the budget was real low. Go listen to episode 1. We discussed this in our inaugural episode. Okay, now we're moving on to alternate endings. And I'm so sorry to let you know that there aren't any. There are no alternate endings.
Ash, you did a deep dive. None.
I did do a deep dive. I was like waiting. I'm like, there has to be something. There are no alternate endings. This was the script. So what I'd rather do in this case is talk about the endings interpretation-wise.
Yeah.
Right? So
okay. Bring it.
Okay. So here are my thoughts. Here are my thoughts on the ending.
Yes.
I think there are 2 potential interpretations, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this as well. So the first is that it's never haunted, right? Claire becomes obsessed with ghost hunting. She's seeing all these things in her head. She even falls down the stairs at the end in the basement and has a head injury. So everything beyond that could just be her hallucinating, which makes total sense, right? And she's actually the only one who sees anything. You mentioned that before. Nobody else sees anything. She hears it. She sees it. That's it.
Well, Lee senses something, but yeah.
Yeah, she does. But okay, I think that's the one that was never haunted. Right. It was just Claire and she has an asthma attack and dies. The other interpretation is this. Do we think that the old man was Madeline O'Malley's fiance? Was he's the one that left her potentially?
No.
And was trying to return to her in the end. And then Claire interfered and that's why Madeline killed her. That's the other interpretation for me, that it was real. They were ghosts. Why was he down in the basement? He was down in the basement. He comes down. He's meeting up with his jilted fiance. And then Madeline, because she shuts the door at the basement at the end, and then did you see her like coming towards her and she kills her. So that's another interpretation. And then there is one more. There's one more. Listen, hear me out. Okay. There's one more.
Well, that second one, I mean, Ash.
Hear me out. One more.
Okay.
Maybe, just maybe, Luke and Lee were in on it together.
Oh.
So there is this theory.
No.
That they are mother and son. They are mother and son. He comes back. He's a creep the whole time.
To kill her?
Or let things happen to her. I'm not quite sure. But those are the 3 kind of interpretations I think that we can, think of when we think about the ending of the movie. And you were shaking your head, so you clearly have other things.
Well, no, the first one. But not even the first one. None of it's real, right? She's just seeing things. She's creeping herself out. In the whole movie, there's a lot of these like lines where like, don't get too close to it, right? She's just creeping herself out. She's seeing these things. Obviously, none of it's actually real.
Yeah, but Luke heard the piano. He's like, I did listen to the EVP and I heard the piano. He did hear the piano.
Okay. But there's no actual, like, she wasn't killed by ghosts. She freaked herself out, locked herself in that room, and died of an asthma attack. I mean, that's clear to me. In terms of the old man being her fiance, absolutely not. Madeline O'Malley died in the 1800s. He would have had to have been the oldest man alive ever. What, like 120 years old, Ash? I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe he took really good care of himself till that final weekend.
So he was like 130 years old, coming back but also his wife had just died. No, he had his honeymoon there. His wife died. He didn't want to live any longer. He went back to where he had where they started their life. He said that in the suicide note, right. And then he killed himself there. So no, I do not think that the old man was Madeline O'Malley's long lost fiance.
Fine. We are getting rid of these one by one. What do we think about Luke?
Luke, I never heard that one. So sorry. Luke and Lee are mother and son. I don't think so, Ash. I don't think so.
When she, jilted his advances on the floor when they're getting drunk on that beer. And then he leaves and he comes back, he was like an incel type dude. I don't know.
He was definitely an incel type dude.
Maybe, was he really the one knocking on the door trying to save her? Was he?
Okay, he may have lied about that, to be fair. I will say, he said he did that, and then he's like, I just found you think he maybe would have tried a little harder. Like, go get like an axe or something and like shining it through that door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the third one, potentially. Second one, absolutely not. For me, it's the first one, asthma attack, died. But I don't think she was actually, those ghosts did anything. I think if anything, they were trying to warn her not to go in there the whole time. Yeah. And there was a lot of foreshadowing happening and she didn't pay attention.
Listen, I 100% agree. I'm throwing this out there as potential interpretations, but I do think she was very impressionable. Right.
Yes.
Like she really cared about people's opinions. She was like trying to prove herself.
She did.
And I think that's, kind of what it was. I think she did die of the asthma attack, but it's fun to kind of do the thought experiments and think about other things that might have been happening.
Yeah. Well, Luke and Lee as mother and son. That's a new one. Listeners, let us know what you think on these three things.
Let us know. Were they mother and son? Were they in on it together? Because they were kind of egging her on. They showed her the website. She was like giving her alcohol. Right? Maybe there was something in that. Who knows?
Maybe she was hallucinating. You're right. And the beer.
They wanted one last wild weekend at the Yankee Pedlar Inn.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, now it is time for the villain. Who was the villain of this movie?
I mean, Ash. Luke was the villain of this movie. Not only did he introduce Claire to the EVP stuff and everything, he's like left her alone at night to go creep herself out and ultimately lead to her own demise, if you will.
Drink. Mm-hmm. Drink. Luke was the absolute worst. He was so like apathetic, but then tries to like profess his love to her.
Yeah.
Clearly didn't love her. He leaves her alone at the hotel. So I don't know. Yeah, but I also think Claire was kind of also at fault. She was horrible at her job.
She was. No. She was.
Was she the worst person at her job ever? Like she's stalking the guests, going into the room.
Breaks into Lee's room in the middle of the night.
Not stalking the towels, but making sure the minibar is stocked for some reason. Just horrible at her job. Just leaving the front desk and going to do the EVP. I mean, this girl, come on.
Yeah.
Not great. I do think there's one more thing we have to consider. And that the Yankee Pedlar Inn was the villain, much like the Overlook Hotel.
The character. Yeah, it was a character in its own right.
Yeah,
the Yankee Pedlar Inn. What about one that we need to talk about? What about Ron? What about the owner? He left them there last weekend.
To go to Barbados.
Yeah,
maybe last weekend too. Like he's just like, I'm out, but like I have two guests staying here. Actually, only two guests, and then the other guy was like just staying for the one night.
The final guest. Well, he didn't even get to the night, Ash. I'm pretty sure he just quickly offed himself. But yeah.
Ron might have been. Yeah, left them alone.
Yeah.
And I wonder what their plans were. So they knew it was their last weekend, right? Like where were they going? Was Claire gonna go work at the coffee shop?
I don't know. Was she gonna go back to school? I'm not sure, Ash. Yeah.
She was like sorting through things, right? Lee really like made her think about her life.
She did.
And I think Luke was really hoping that website was going to take off.
That was his plans. That website was like so sad.
So sad. It was so sad. Like just the aesthetics of it were not great. Okay, now it's time for sips and simmering questions. This question is coming from me. I have a question that I want your opinion on.
Okay, bring it.
Okay. Luke says to her at the end when he comes back, I have something important to tell you. What was it? What was he trying to tell her at the end? He was trying to tell Claire something. Because
when he came back. So when he left and then he came back.
He's a coward. He leaves, the hotel, and she's like, what the hell? But then he comes back and he talks to Claire and he's like, I have something really important to tell you. And then we never hear what that was.
Well, I think it was that he was in love with her, right? He missed his chance earlier because she wanted to go down to the basement. So I'm assuming that's what it is, Ash. He realized he left, yeah.
Or Lee's my mom and we were just trying to scare you. Don't worry.
Honestly, okay, the more I hear it, the more I like that ending, that potential possibility of an ending.
Right.
Like, how do we confirm that? Like, Ty West, let us know.
Let us know.
But yeah.
He goes up in the end and she's like, Lee's standing in Claire's room where Claire's like apparition appears at the end. He's like, what are you still doing here?
Yeah.
And he was kind of like mean to her. They seem to have more of a rapport than just like a stranger. Like, why was he so angry?
And that's the reason why she stayed there. Yeah, okay. She was like a random actress. But she was famous, right? So wouldn't the world know that she had a son?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it was his thing, the website, and he had to get her to record the content. I don't know. There could be something there. Okay, now it is time for sips and sequels. All right, so we know The Innkeepers does not have a sequel or a prequel or anything like that.
Yeah.
But do we have thoughts on what it could be?
I think maybe it's like right before a sequel, but when Luke leaves, what the hell happened there? What made him come back? Could it be a movie that was almost like him being haunted during that part, potentially.
And maybe that's what he was trying to tell her.
Maybe. So there's like a movie, it's like kind of a sequel, right? But it's sort of telling the story of what happened when he left and then came back. I think that'd be great. I'd love to see that.
That would be good. Because he did come back and like he was so freaked out. So like maybe he learned something in that whatever 10 minutes
garage,
it was.
Like yeah, exactly. That'd be a cool movie.
I think it should just be like the others, right? The three spirits. So Claire is now in the hotel, the inn.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're haunting the next people that come in. So Ron comes home and he's like, well, you know what? Now like people are really interested in this hotel.
So he's not going to shut it down anymore? He spruces
it back up.
Because someone died there. So he's like, oh, I can capitalize on this.
Yes. And that's what they were supposed to do in like the real story because it did shut down in like 2015, like the actual Yankee Pedlar Inn. And they were supposed to reopen it in 2018 under like Best Western. Or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it never happened. And they were promoting it online and stuff and saying like, oh, we're going to open it. Cause like, again, people were really interested. Yeah. So, he could come back and like you said, capitalize on it and reopen it. But then Claire is like one of the ghosts now. She's one of the spirits haunting the hotel. They definitely could have done like the others type of, movie. I think with that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to see that.
Yeah. And then we see you see they changed the name or something. So no longer Yankee Pedlar is like something else. And you kind of see that at the beginning. That would have been cool. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for Sips and Screams episode 8, The Innkeepers. Thank you so much for joining us and listening today. Join us next time as we sip on more themed cocktails and discuss the good, the bad, and the truly terrifying of our favorite horror movies. Cheers.
Cheers.